Hey guys, Mrs. Matheson here. Obviously I'm not there today, so I'm going to try and give you a little recap of yesterday's notes videos and just touch base on those before you jump into those stations. So as you can see, I'm working on my kids' making table at home. So my phone's like balancing on a chair above it. Yeah, this is definitely, I wish I was rather there, guys. So the first thing I want to talk about is skew lines. This is a concept that sometimes is difficult for students, and so I'm just going to point out a couple different figures and examples of skewed lines on them. So the example in your notes yesterday literally had two like planes floating above each other and that were parallel and said that those were skew lines, and those are, but we want to think about what skewed lines look like in our real life situations. So if we look here in this cube, a skewed line would be like this one here in the side. Think about that, it's going to go forever, and that's going to be skew with like this line here. My teal one down here is on this plane on this side and on this bottom plane. And the blue one is on the front plane and the side plane. And they are going to extend forever, and they are never going to touch each other, even though they're in the same figure. A more real life example, if you look at your table, an example of skewed lines in your table would be like one of these table legs, and then the opposite edge of your table. Those are skewed lines. They're not on the same plane. They are going to never touch each other. That's what examples of skewed lines. All right, so I have this diagram drawn here. This is what you saw yesterday. We have parallel lines, and most of the time you'll see parallel marked with those arrows. Now, the angle relationships that we talked about in the video, when we define them, they are defined for any lines, not even parallel. But once we define their measures at the second page that we talked about, those were specific to parallel lines. So in your station 1, you're looking at non-parallel, but that's fine. Just treat them all like they're parallel. So I want you to take a pause here, take out a blank piece of paper, or even on the bottom of your notes sheet on the back side, draw this diagram and pause and do like a brain dump. Write down anything you can think of based off of yesterday's notes without looking at your notes. All right, so pause the video here and write down anything you can think of. All right, hopefully you took some time and paused the video there. Now I'm going to tell you the type of things that I would expect you to be able to tell me. And if you can't, that's fine. This is just going to help go through and reiterate those things and make you feel more confident in them before you jump into our stations. So the first thing, well, let's see here, is that I would start off talking about my angle relationships, what I have, how many of them I have. So I don't want to pick purple, that's my lines. All right, so if I look here, I have these right there. So angle 1 and angle 4 are vertical angles. Oh, yeah, good, you can see. And vertical angles are congruent. 1 and 4 are, and so that also means that 2 and 3 also are. And then we can carry on down here. Angle 5 and angle 8 are also going to be vertical angles. Those are the ones that we talked about. They form a V in the unit 1. We talked about those. And then angle 6 and 7 are also going to be vertical angles. So those are things that we talked about in unit 1. So that was not new off of yesterday's, but we do see those relationships here, and those help us to determine about angle measure. Then we can jump into, let's go ahead and talk about angle 1 and angle 8. Those are alternate exterior. Alternate meaning they're on opposite sides of my transversal. One's on the left, one's on the right. And exterior, they are outside of my parallel line. So angle 1 and angle 8. And these are congruent. Okay. We also see that with angles 2 and angle 7. All right, alternate exterior. So in addition to alternate exterior, then we have alternate interior. Oh, my green marker doesn't really want to work. Hang on, let me jump to a different one. Let's go lavender and see how that goes. Angle 3 and angle 6 are alternate interior. And alternate interior angles are also congruent. Remember when we did those notes yesterday, we had 4 big angle relationships we talked about, and 3 of them are congruent. So angle 3 and angle 6 are alternate interior. And then that also makes angle 5 and angle 4 alternate interior. All right, then we look at consecutive interior. This would be like angle 5 and angle 3, consecutive interior. Consecutive interior are going to be supplementary angles. So these ones add up to 180 degrees. So consecutive, think about consecutive numbers would be like 4, 5, 6, -2, -3, -4. Those are consecutive. They come right after each other. So like here, they are both coming right after each other, and they are interior. They're inside my parallel lines. So angle 3 and angle 5, and then that makes the ones on the opposite sides, angle 4 and angle 6. Oh, I totally should have written 5. Thanks, sorry. And angle 6. Those are our supplementary ones. So we have talked about 3 of the relationships from yesterday, and those ones are all, or 2 of them were congruent, 1 was supplementary, so our last one is going to be also congruent. So when we talk about corresponding angles, corresponding, they're in the same position. So if I look here at angle 2, if I lift this line up and lay it down on this line, it's in the same position as angle 6. It's above the parallel line and to the right of the transversal. So those are corresponding. And corresponding are congruent. So angle 2 and angle 6. We actually have 4 sets of these. Angle 4 and angle 8. We have angle 7 and angle 3. And angle 5 and angle 1. So these are the 4 relationships you talked about yesterday. We did a little discovery in them and about coming if they're congruent or consecutive. So these are the new pieces. So let me just reiterate. Alternate exterior, opposite sides of my transversal and outside of my parallel lines. Alternate interior, opposite sides of my transversal, but both inside my parallel lines. Consecutive interior, ones that come right after each other that are inside my parallel lines. Corresponding, if I took my top line and I picked it up and laid it onto the bottom line, these are the ones that are in the exact same position. We talked about vertical angles, those ones that make the V's. And then the last thing I want to touch base on is going to be our linear pairs. We also see those here. Again, that's a term that we talked about in Unit 1, but still very important to review. Linear pairs are going to be the ones that make a line, so they are supplementary. Okay, there are going to be multiple sets of linear pairs here. These are 2 that make a line. So angles 1 and angle 2. But then angle 2 is also a linear pair with angle 4. Angle 4 is a linear pair with angle 3. Angle 3 is also with angle 1. Then we go down to our bottom line here. Angle 5 and angle 6 are a linear pair. Angle 6 and angle 8. Angle 8 and angle 7. And then angle 7 and angle 5. All right, so this is stuff from Unit 1. This is the stuff you talked about in our 2.1 notes yesterday. So you are going to go around the room and work on the stations now. I am going to have you skip station 5, and we will do that when I come back together. So let me reiterate that. I'm going to have you skip station 5, We will do that when I come back, and we'll do that together. Okay, after you finish the stations, turn that worksheet in, and then go ahead and do the 2.1 review. It's just 11 problems, or 11 points, I should say. It's just the one-sided of the sheet. And then I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Bye.